Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw News Brief. We're going to try to keep this one brief today. Do us a favor before you get started, Larson. Let's ask the people for one of those thumbs up. And hey, if you don't like the video, you can take it away later on. Hit that subscribe button. Larson, what's in the news?
So, of course, we had all those releases yesterday. And that's the news broke of WWE's releases of Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Lana, Santana Garrett, and Buddy Murphy. The Mat Men podcast's Andrew Zarian said that releases kind of like this could happen on a regular basis in the future. These transcripts are via Cultaholic. Quote, I was told, this is what Andrew Zarian had to say, quote, I was told specifically that there's going to be more releases to come. This is going to be a regular thing. You're going to see these releases happen. They're reshuffling the deck with talent. They're realizing the company got very bloated with talent over the last 2 to 3 years where WWE doesn't release anybody. They hang on to people. They threw ridiculous money to guys like Gallows and Anderson. Speaking of people who are making apparently a lot of money, it seems like Braun Strowman's massive contract was one of the reasons he might have been released by WWE. Fightful Select, go subscribe to Fightful Select. You get awesome wrestling news right to your email. Reported that Braun signed a huge deal back in 2019, and Dave Meltzer suggested on a recent Wrestling Observer Radio that his deal played a part in his departure, saying, these transcripts again from Cultaholic, quote, basically it was expressed to me is that he was 2 years past his peak. He was getting a high salary, and that was the issue with him.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously changing around their business philosophy with the arrival of the new leadership in Nick Khan. So it makes kind of sense that they would be doing this. There was also a report that I believe from Fightful as well, that the talent relations would be scouting at the PC, looking for, there's going to be some call-ups coming up soon. There's going to be, some new faces perhaps on main roster.
I mean, it reminds me of a lot how the NFL does business.
Yeah, right.
Where they'll sign people to contracts. They're, apart from signing bonuses, it's not guaranteed. So, once a player reaches a certain age, they don't feel like they're producing in relation to the money they're being paid, they'll cut them.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It kind of feels like that's the direction they're going.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense. Like, it was never the idea that they can just hoard talent. That was always going to end up this way. I mean, that was going to have its breaking point. Mm-hmm. When you hoard talent and you don't have a showcase for them, it's a losing strategy anyways, because you're wasting money. And also you're just not making your place appealing to work. I mean, if people are out there, it's like, well, I could either just sort of not be used and collect a paycheck and hope that maybe I'll be used, or go to a place where clearly, whenever AEW signs somebody, they'll use them. It might be on Dark or Elevation, or they might be part of a faction, but they're going to use them. I mean, I guarantee Sean Spears is way happier now than he was Ty Dillinger as a solo guy, Yeah, he's won in a faction, but he's used. He has a role,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was not going to end, but it ends up like this. It ends up with a bunch of releases. So that's just something that I guess we can sort of expect from here on out. Now, what I would hope is on the back end side of things, whatever leadership is doing in terms of bringing people in, hopefully those people will have stable jobs for a longer period of time. I mean, the wrestling industry, in terms of the wrestlers, it's a weird thing anyways. Like, you go from gig to gig and then hopefully you sign a long-term contract but you
can make steady money. Yeah,
you can make steady money. You can build your brand on camera so that if you do get released, you can do what we're watching Tommy N do right now, and that's get on Twitch and tell a story and make some money doing that. So yeah, interesting stuff.
It is. I wonder if this, because prior to last year in April, when they had that, first round of releases back in April 2020, where it was like a dozen wrestlers got cut. It seemed like, wrestlers would get released from time to time, but it was a wrestler here, maybe two there. They'd gone a number of years without doing, the usual post WrestleMania trimming down the roster, which was a thing years and years ago. For a number of years, it seemed like they really didn't do it that much. And maybe it just seems like now that's going to be a regular occurrence again. Let's talk about this real quick, about Meltzer saying that, assuming this is accurate, that WB felt like Braun was 2 years past his peak. I mean, 4 years ago, he was doing some really fun stuff. He was destroying everything. His feud against Roman was great. You know, and I think in terms of his performance of late, I feel like he's gotten more comfortable on the mic. I feel like his in-ring stuff hasn't necessarily declined. I don't necessarily feel like this is a situation where Braun is past his peak. I feel like it's a situation where creative, after that initial phase where they booked him really well, didn't know how to capitalize on that momentum and hadn't for a better part of 3 or 4 years.
I'm glad you're qualifying that, because this is the second time that Meltzer has quoted a source of his saying something pretty tacky. What was that last one about? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I remember you and I saying, God, that's sort of a tacky way of putting like a release. Yeah. It was like a release of somebody.
Yeah.
It was really tacky, and this is just like 2 years past his peak. I mean, I'm sure Braun has plenty more to offer. It's not his fault that he was given lousy creative, because I agree with you. He has improved on the mic, and his skills for what he needs to do, they have not. I mean, he can still do all that stuff.
The skills. Yeah. He's in great shape.
He's in
better shape now than he was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, to suggest, you know, I mean, I'm guessing whatever Meltzer's saying here was he has a source that told him this. You know, I don't know the exact verbiage his source used versus what he used, but nonetheless, it seems crazy to think that Braun, I think he's in his late 30s, something like that.
It's one thing to say we were unable to capitalize on the fire that we had when he was at his creative peak with us, when we knew what to do with him, when he was the monster, you know, doing the I'm not finished with you stuff, which was wildly entertaining.
It was great.
And it's one thing to not understand how to progress that and not know how to advance that past a certain ceiling. But to say a guy is 2 years past his peak when clearly he can still go, he can still contribute quite a bit.
It's pretty ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Really silly. Like, I even thought up until the build for Backlash when he was like destroying. They had the best match on the card. That big monster battle, and Braun was launching himself off the apron, doing like sentons. Past his peak. Get out of here with that. I think Braun's got a lot to. I mean, I haven't always been his biggest fan, but you know, primarily it's because like creatively, they never amplified his strengths.
I know.
Well, they did for a while, and then they sort of stopped. It was weird.
Again, it's the thing like what John Moxley was talking about with Vince. Oh, we know who you are. So, you know, Vince maybe has an idea in his mind of who he wants Braun Strowman to be, whether that plays to his strengths or not.
Yeah.
And then he's got to do it, I guess.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. It's funny because there was some really, really bad news about Raw's ratings, and then it was still really bad, but not quite as bad.
Not nearly as bad
the first one.
Yeah.
So earlier indicators yesterday suggested that a lot of wrestling fans pulled a Going in Raw and tapped out on Monday Night Raw, with PW Torch reporting that Raw.
We're not tapping out on Raw. We're tapping out doing reviews Monday night.
We could, it doesn't matter if we say that. That's not what people are gonna think.
That's why I wrote that in there, because I thought it was funny.
We're still going to review Raw. Yes. We're just doing it on Tuesdays. As the video I posted on Twitter.
No one watched that, though.
Indicates.
Seemingly.
And we do more than just cover Monday Night Raw, and we have for 6 years now. Anyway. You know, it's funny, though. When we started Going in Raw, that was the only show. Like, AEW wasn't a thing. SmackDown was a recap show.
The whole idea of Going in Raw when it was birthed was we would do pay-per-view reviews, get them up before I think the next Raw, so you're going into Raw with the latest information.
The latest pay-per-view review. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, it was just pay-per-view reviews in advance of Raw.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, we need to rebrand. Anyways, PW Torch reporting that Raw averaged 1.418 million viewers, an all-time low for the show. The Torch reported that hourly numbers were 1.536 million for hour 1, 1.549 for hour 2, and 1.168 for hour 3. So that would be like almost 500,000 viewer drop for the third hour. But Post Wrestling got a hold of WWE's internal ratings data, which states that Raw averaged 1.557 million. So it's about a million. About what is that?
About 140,000 more.
140,000 million more viewers.
140,000 million more viewers.
I'm so yeah, I know. 140,000 more viewers. The first and second hour numbers match PW Torch, but according to WWE's internal numbers, the third hour garnered 1.586 million 100,000 viewers. Obviously better than the initial number. Okay, but hold on a second.
What
did Showbuzz Daily have?
Showbuzz Daily has not been updated since May 10th.
What? Are you serious? How is that not a
Yes.
story? That's a big story. Because here's the thing. WWE's internal numbers versus what did PW Torch have?
I think I don't know where they got their stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, regardless, 1.56.
Still, what ended up, if even using WWE's internal numbers, that's still the lowest number of the year.
Yeah.
It looks better than, under 1.5 million, but it's
Yeah.
still the lowest number of 2021. So it's not like it's a great number, even though assuming these numbers from WB are accurate.
And I know people are going to light up the comments with this. It was a holiday, and I totally get that. And it was against a sports competition. It had sports clout against it. But here's also the thing to remember. 18 short months ago, a pre-taped Christmas episode on Christmas, the day where everybody stops doing everything and either maybe watches football, but just doing nothing. So they pre-taped it. We were there.
Yeah.
1.835 million.
Yeah.
Versus this Memorial Day episode, which was 1.5 million. Raw right now is struggling to get the same number, 1.8. They're struggling to get the same number as a pre-taped Christmas episode from 18 months ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
That's crazy. And I'm sorry, but going to the PC and trying to pick out new people and calling up people from NXT, that ain't going to change nothing if the creative process behind that remains the same. It's in the stories, man.
You got that right.
And they suck right now.
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
It's not just that they suck. They suck. And I like that Louis Dangor tweeted this today because I think it's what we were saying on our Raw recap too. It's not that they're just bad. It's that, this is pretty much quote of Louis' tweet. It's not that they're just bad. It's that nothing happens.
Yeah.
It's bad and it's copy and paste week after week.
Yeah. Yeah. Alexa Bliss had her rebirth thing at WrestleMania. That was in April.
Yeah.
And ever since then, she hasn't wrestled. She's been on that same damn playground set since then. We're all wondering, what is she going to do? And
they don't know. That's the problem.
You know?
They don't know.
Yeah. The same thing over and over and over. Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre went down to WrestleMania 2 months ago. And we're still there at Hell in a Cell. And it ain't like there's been all sorts of twists and turns.
That's what I'm saying. It's not that we're just still there. I don't mind it if there's a good story that's being told. It's just the same thing over and over. You know?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely
There's no
crazy.
twists and turns. There's no ups and downs.
Yeah. Let's talk about NXT UK. Of course, every Thursday we do our NXT UK watch along over there at the twitch.tv/Steven Larson. So be sure to check that out with us. A couple good matches here. We had Ilya Dragunov versus Noam Dar. Really good match. Of course, Ilya defeated Noam Dar with a flying uppercut for the win. Didn't really go into true trance mode. He sort of kind of semi-did.
Yeah, kind of at the end a little bit.
They usually punctuate it with him like completely. It feels more like he might have, this Dar match, he might have understood how to get it under control. They didn't really like illustrate that too much because he didn't go crazy afterwards. He didn't wake up from the spell afterwards. There was none of that, but he did sort of get to a point where he was triggered to the point where, you know, he laid into no-am, but I feel like it wasn't as crystal clear.
And he was no-selling Dar's offense.
Yeah.
To a degree.
Yeah, we had a Valkyrie promo. We had Sid Scala welcoming Jordan Devlin back to the NXT UK Performance Center, but Devlin showed up with just a list of demands. He wanted his own dressing room.
Yeah.
He wanted a fancier car, namely
He wanted a Mustang. He wanted a Ford Mustang.
a new Mustang. And more importantly, apparently, he wanted a spot on Supernova Sessions because he had a lot of things to get off his chest.
He's got a lot of problems with a lot of people.
Got a lot of problems with you people.
After that, we had Pretty Deadly versus Jack Stars and mystery partner Nathan Frazier. As good as Nathan Frazier is, it wasn't enough to help Jack Stars get the win. Pretty Deadly get the W with their finish. This next bit was great. A Tyler Bate video package. He's totally turning into a Jedi.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Blindfold nunchucks is what he was. He was doing the nunchucks, but he was blindfolded.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted nunchucks when I was a kid. Never got them. Probably for
Same.
the best. Probably for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000% for the best. 1,000%.
We had Flash Morgan Webster eat the loss to Joseph Connors with that great neck breaker of his, but that was after Ginny pushed Flash off the top rope. Subculture comes out, so we're probably going to get Ginny versus Danny Luna.
Danny Luna.
And then Mark Andrews versus, what's-his-face, Joseph Connors. So that's probably going to happen soon.
Yeah. The Joseph Connors neck breaker is very rude awakening.
Yeah, it's great.
And the stiffness of it. Great news. Fantastic news. Walter returning to NXT UK next week.
Y'all need to join us for that.
Yeah.
Because we're going to mark out big time.
Massively.
It's the ring
Also next week, Kaylee Ray defending the women's title against Mako Satomura. They had a video package hyping up that match.
Just give it 4.5 stars right now. I'm just going to write
that right.
4.5 stars.
Minimum. That's the minimum. And the main event, Rampage Brown versus Joe Coffey.
Joe Coffey
gets the win after a discus lariat. They shake hands after the match, and then Ilya walks out. Apparently, he wants to get involved in whatever is going on between Gallus and Rampage.
Absolutely, man. He's going to test his mettle against them big, beefy dudes.
All in anticipation of beating Walter for that NXT UK title.
Dude, Impact is putting on like sort of a mini pay-per-view tonight. Look at this lineup here for Impact.
It's a great card.
So we're going to be watching it at the twitch.tv/Steven Larson. But check this out. Number one, a former WWE wrestler debuting tonight. And this is not a new rumor. This has been confirmed. Who do you think it is, Larson?
The top name I saw given to us in our Twitch chat, Steve Cutler.
I say Ryback. On BTI, that's Being the Impact, Josh Alexander and TJP are going to be throwing down in an Iron Man match for the X Division
really good things
title.
About this.
And then the finish of that is going to spill over into the beginning of Impact, so we might be starting a little bit early tonight to watch Being the Impact.
Yeah. Maybe 4:30 or so.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Stay tuned.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. All right. Also on the card, Moose versus Sami Callihan. That could pay-per-view any pay-per-view.
Right?
Any pay-per-view.
That's huge. Kojima versus Diener.
Huge match. Fired Flava versus Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering.
Do we know, is this for the tag titles?
I can find out in a moment.
And then Jake something versus Rohit Raju. Where they've been having a feud brewing, so that should be good. Yeah, a bunch of good looking matches today. This should be a good Impact. And of course,
yes, it is for the championships.
We're gonna be hanging out, eating dinner. It's gonna be a good night, and it is. He's confirmed it is.
Yeah, what are you having for dinner tonight? I haven't.
Chicken.
Yeah, I should know that.
Chicken.
Is it in the Instapot?
No, Lacey's been baking it lately, putting like breading stuff on it, so it's been pretty flavorful.
Sounds good.
So yeah. Anyways, check that out. So yeah, that's gonna do it for us today. Please let us know what you guys think about all this stuff in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.